Yep. Speaking of a team which has a money situation at quarterback, the Dallas Cowboys, very puzzling offseason. Dude, I don't get it. I don't get what Jerry's doing here. And people have tried to explain it to me like, oh, just you play out the season and then see what happens. It's like, dude, that is the worst. I feel like that's the worst possible way that you can handle this because right now, I've said it a million times before. It's one of the most baffling things of this entire offseason to me. The Cowboys are letting Dak Prescott walk into the season with a $60 million cap hit on their roster, which just it makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. And like there's two obvious ways to kind of handle a situation like this: trade him or extend him. And I feel like his value would be pretty high. If I went out back in March and I dangled Dak Prescott on the NFL trade market in like an earnest way to reset and rebuild the roster because for whatever reason I don't want to do this anymore, you could probably get 3 first-round picks for him, right? And they're also not committed on extending him, so you're kind of in a situation where the value that you've accumulated up to this point is just in flux, right? Okay, well, if Dak has a supernova season this year, what is he going to ask for like $63 million per year next year, which is what you wanted to avoid when you signed to a contract like 5 years ago on the $40 million a year one? Or if he tanks it and he plays terribly because they haven't been able to put pieces around him because of this cap hit number that's sitting there, then what do you do with the trade market? You get diminished return on what you could have had this year. I don't get what Jerry's doing at all. And it kind of feels like he doesn't understand what he's doing either, especially playing hardball with CeeDee Lamb while the Eagles get 2 wide receiver extensions done in the same offseason. It's just very, very strange to me.
I feel like we have to like relitigate Jerry Jones's reputation as being like this like shrewd, he's gonna play hardball businessman. Like going back to even like the Zeke stuff, he kind of got played by Zeke. Like Zeke held out and got his deal and got paid, and then it was like washed like 2 years later. Dak, last time this happened, it was like it played out the same exact way. He tried to hold out on Dak, he tried to play hardball, tried to make Dak prove it in a prove it season, and then Dak did, and then ended up making like 50 more million than he would have. And I think the same thing is going to happen here. But I agree with you. I feel like it's either extend him or trade him. The one thing they're doing is the one thing that they can't afford to do, like literally can't afford to do. A $60 million cap hit is just insane. And I think it's a simple question they have to ask themselves. Over the next, 4 years, let's say you have to give him a 4-year contract. Over the next 4 years, are we going to find a quarterback better than Dak Prescott? And how? And the answer is no. It's just realistically no. Unless you get the first overall pick and Caleb Williams comes out, it's not happening.
Well, there's also a lot of hubris here too, I think, because of quite frankly, they stumbled into 2 back-to-back franchise quarterbacks with investments that are like 99th percentile outcomes, right? You got Tony Romo as a UDFA. Then you come back 2016, where this is the year before they could trade compensatory picks. So you were still locked into that spot no matter what. They tried to trade up for Paxton Lynch. They couldn't get it done. So 4th round comp pick comes around. The NFL says you're still not allowed to trade him. F it. We'll take a quarterback here. We'll take Dak Prescott. And then it works out in this manner. So I feel like in Jerry's mind, Jerry probably thinks that he can get a quarterback anywhere, even though he did try to trade up for Paxton Lynch in the year that they drafted Dak Prescott,
That's right. and think about this, think about how much we talk about like the Packers and the Colts for not winning more when they kind of like inherited the same situation. They go from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck. The Packers obviously go from Favre to Rodgers to Love. And those teams only have 3 Super Bowls combined over the last 3 decades to show for it. The Cowboys don't have anything. And they, like you said, they got even luckier. At least the Colts had to get the first overall pick to get their 2 guys. The Packers had to use 2 first-round picks to get their guys. These guys, like you said, a 4th-round pick and a UDFA who become,
franchise quarterbacks.
I would argue, top 5 quarterbacks of their generation, respectively, and you can't get to the NFC Championship. Like, that falls on Jerry and Jerry alone. We can talk about Wade Phillips. We can talk about Jason Garrett. We can talk about Mike McCarthy all we want. But who hired those guys and who sat around while they blew these rosters? Like, Jerry's failure since the Jimmy Johnson era has not been documented enough. I think we need to relitigate his reputation.
Dude, you had 20 years of quarterback play that most teams would kill for. They would kill for like 80% of the quarterback play that you've had for the past 20 years. And you've done nothing with it. And now it seems like he's going to blame Dak for not being able to get anything done this year when the resource allocation has been pathetically awful. Like 8-year-old playing Madden franchise for the first time level of bad. And I don't know what cap space means. I don't know what expiring contracts mean. I'm still kind of figuring this out for the first time. That's how they've run their team. And I really hope it's not going to happen, but I really hope that if/when the Cowboys struggle this year, we remember the inaction of the offseason that kind of got them to this point. Because I think, dude, when you look at the rosters and start comparing them, they have fallen off from where the Eagles were last year. Like, I think it's going to be kind of tough for them to stay and compete unless they get some crazy development for some rookies and some second-year guys that maybe you're not even expecting. And obviously, Mike Zimmer comes in and steps in and does a good job.